Welcome to One Spark Stories, the podcast where innovators, creators, and some unsuspecting risk takers share about navigating highs and lows, laughter and tears, and how sometimes all it takes is one spark of inspiration to find your way to happiness. This podcast will leave you inspired to take action on your own purpose as we connect, create, and celebrate unique sparks around the globe, once again proving that it is a small world after all. DShawn van Kerkhoff is a 21-year-old student that recently took a solo trip from the Netherlands to board a cruise with people he had only met online. Sounds super sketchy, right? Well, considering this is what brought DShawn and I together, I say not at all. The cruise was a way for our online community of professionals to dig into some personal and professional development. And what better place to challenge our own thinking by taking this opportunity out to sea? For professionals of all fields and years of experience, they tend to only opt into workshops because, well, they're either required to acquire so many hours of continuing education, or it's a way for them to network and expand their sales pipeline. For DShawn, this was a way to connect with thought leaders and executives that are incredibly aligned with his future goals of working internationally as an operations manager for a theme park. This was an opportunity he wasn't going to let sail past. But don't worry, we will uncover just what this magical community is, and I'll be sure to include a link in the show notes in case you ever want to join us. And not just at sea, but also in our online learning opportunities. And as you listen, I want you to think about the ways that you're currently engaging with people that are aligned with your professional purpose and even your personal goals. Are there ways that, in the words of Mama Odie from The Princess and the Frog, you could dig a little deeper? Let's get the sparks of inspiration flying as we hear from someone I am so grateful to call a friend and the future operations director for an incredible, yet to be determined, theme park all the way from the Netherlands. It's DShawn van Kerkhoff.
Well, hello, DShawn. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining over in the Netherlands. So DShawn is joining us from just, a few time zones away, but he and I got connected through an online learning community, which was always fun. And, just a lot of really neat monthly conversations within the Perch Group. Shout out to our Perch crew and Dan Cockrell for putting all of this together. But the real magic came when DShawn and I were, I don't want to say trapped on a cruise ship, but we were joined at sea with the community and spent quite an epic, I'd say 15 minutes at Royal Caribbean's private island in the Bahamas, where we were chasing down last minute experiences. So DShawn, thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much. We were stuck in one hellway together. And after that, it's how much days was the cruise? 5 days or something?
Yes.
Friends immediately.
Yes.
So perfect.
Yep.
Thank you for that. That was really cool.
Well, I think I can speak for everybody that was there. You were one of the shining lights in the moment, because most of us are transitioning our careers, or some folks were looking at retirement and looking that next step. And here you are traveling away from home and coming to the States to go on a cruise with essentially strangers, virtual community at 21 years old. What in the world prompted you to do that? And as a mother, part of me is like, oh my gosh. So talk us through what brought you on that journey.
Okay, so I have since I was 11, a clear goal that I want to achieve in life. And I'm very career focused, and I would love to become an operations manager for a market leading theme park. And I love the function of a duty manager or an event manager that is in a position where you don't know what's going to happen for the day, and you have to troubleshoot if something goes on, and you have to react very quickly and accurate. So I also kind of knew that my thing would lay internationally and not just stay here in the Netherlands. And I was, I think for now, about 2 years, I'm really active on LinkedIn and trying to connect with people to just not put myself out there, but just to understand the industry and the people that work in it. And then I saw the Perch community, and I was attending a free lecture that he was giving, Dan was giving. And afterwards we got an offer, like, I think Dan is doing that now also, that you have like 1 month for $1, and then afterwards it's the normal pay. And that was exactly the same moment when I started living on my own. That was a year ago, in September a year ago, so a bit less. But I started living on my own, and I mean, if you start living on your own, you don't know exactly what expenses are coming to you. And so I reacted really honestly to them, like, I'm starting now on my own. I don't know what the expenses are. So, but the moment I can pay it or afford it, I'm the first one in line. And then I got a reaction that I got a year scholarship. So for a year, I could be part of this amazing community with these amazing people in it, basically for free. And I got so connected to all of you. Like, this community is insane. It's different than I ever experienced it. And so this Perch community came up, the Perch cruise came up, where the most of, like, I think Dan said 1/3 of the whole community was there. And I did go to my parents and I'm like, I have to go there no matter what, because I didn't have any vacation. I was still in school and my projects were going on. But I said to them, I have to figure out a way. I basically don't care. But
you saw the magic within the
yeah. So, and I thought I had to defend myself towards my parents to like support why I had to go there. So I had prepared this whole thing for explaining why I should go there and the people that are there. And I know it's expensive, but it's part of my savings. And the only thing my dad replied to me was like, it's an investment in yourself. You should go. And that was totally not what I was expecting. But it
major
was
shout out to your parents. That's awesome for them to understand that. That clearly shows they know you and your goals. Yeah.
My parents, the thing is, I grew up in a business family, which helps me to be this career focused, because that comes natural to us. They own their own transport company. And shout out to my parents that my dad was always my mentor in my work field, and my mom was there personally for me. So it was the perfect balance. And the same for my sister. She's now a financial controller at IKEA. So it's so funny to see that my sister is very on the financial side and I'm on the operational side, which is, it balances everything. So that's really amazing. And after this, I did go to my university and say, I'm gone for 2 weeks and we need to figure out how. I didn't even, brutally, I didn't give him even an option that I...
Good for you. You went in with a plan.
But they totally supported me. My study is leisure and event management. And in January, I'm going to start a specialization in attraction theme park management. In January starts my internship. I start in September. And they're there to support me. So they do everything to get me towards my goals. So it came perfectly together and I got on that flight alone and flew to the US.
And you did it. And you had, as our friend Claudine would say, an epic couple weeks. So I love how intentional everything was for you. And that's a big piece of when I talk about the ABCs of purpose. It's the alignment, the behaviors, and then how are you connecting, creating, and celebrating that. And to me, you have been so focused and aligned in what it is that you want, and your behaviors match it. You knew what the opportunity was and you put the wheels in motion. And then here, we'll dig into those other 3 C's momentarily. But I could keep going through this. I've already made like 5 notes that I have to jump back into with you. But before we go too far, I've got to ask you some rapid fire questions, get to know a little bit more about DShawn and just who you are, what you love, and then we'll see where that goes as well. We'll create moments from these. So what was your absolute favorite childhood toy?
My toy, Playmobil. I don't know if that's an American thing as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I still have like boxes full of them because I saved them all for like when the next generation comes.
Yeah. Like the little, whether it was like the little buses or houses and like little people.
I was allowed to like build half of the living room, and it was just my village. Really, like my parents, there was only one thing I had to do, and that is clear one path so that people could walk through it. But the rest, I claimed it all.
You were already the ops manager. You were already navigating the community.
Building storylines started there.
That's excellent. So thinking of building storylines, when did you first fall in love with Disney? Because that has, been something that is a big part of this community, and then getting the experience to go. What was it? What was your first experience with the company?
Well, I have to say the movies, that's where it all started, because that's like the thing you see as a child and you do not fully understand it, but still you see the visuals. And there's like a movie, and it's The Lady and the Tramp. It's a connection between me and my grandma. That's the movie we watched it like, I was there 3 times a week, maybe even more. And we watched it all the time. It was that one, or The Lion King. And I think that's where it started. That's where the magical started. Yeah.
I love it. My dog growing up was named Lady. She was a collie. It just, you just threw me back to my warm and fuzzy. Yes, great movie. So were there ever moments where you encountered either your own personal block or somebody being a roadblock to these dreams, to where they're like, okay, DShawn, you're thinking a bit crazy, going on this cruise, maybe an example, or as a kid where they're like, that doesn't seem like it, let's rein it in a bit. Have you ever encountered that?
I have to thank my parents, I think, for that. Because you have to be a bit different to be special, I think. And that's really the mentality they brought to me. So they helped me support to get unique instead of basic like the rest. If that's, I don't mean to be mean on that, but no, I for sure had them, but it was never a problem to me, because it showed to me that I'm doing a good job, kind of to figure out where to go.
That just gave me chills, because too often people get that roadblock, and I know I'm guilty of it. But when you are so committed and you know your purpose, and the right people are telling you yes, 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 it really does give you a superpower where you are able to be brazen in that and say, okay, that's fine, but I'm me and this is my pathway. So excuse me, now move over.
So roadblocks were no roadblocks for me. They were challenging me to become better. That's kind of
that. Yes, absolutely. So then who would you say has been somebody that has really helped ignite that career? Maybe somebody in your educational or professional, as you're navigating this, that lit that spark.
Okay, so before I always had also a passion for like the entertainment industry, and I wanted to become first a creative director for live shows, to like creating the stages and keeping that running. So I started off with a keyboard lesson when I was very young, and I imagine I'm not musical at all. So I had one keyboard lesson, that's it. And then I started doing multimedia, it was called. It was the same teacher who introduced me to multimedia in my keyboard lesson, and that was the last day I had my keyboard lesson. And I really have to thank him for understanding like the basics of just the industry and creating something. And he was always pushing me to a next level. And I hear my mom often say, when we talk about this, she was like, oh, just give him the answer. But he was always asking me questions to let myself think and figure it out on my own, instead of saying, oh, you need to do it like this. He could let me work on my laptop for weeks to figure out something and just guide me a bit, but he wouldn't tell me how to do it, which also let me be creative in how to make it. So I think he started that off. He was one of the first people that I saw as a mentor. And then also my teacher from my previous school, he was a mentor in leadership for me. He put me sometimes in a critical position of leading like up to 100 people. But it's the best way to learn it. I don't know if that's a saying in America as well, but we say he dropped me in front of the lions. So I did not know what to expect. And he was just, you're going to do it. And I had to figure it out along, but it was the best thing that could happen to me. And now with Dan, like, I don't know if Dan sees it the same way, but I see Dan as a mentor to me, because he's teaching me so many things, and also the people in the Perch community, we together. But since I'm connected to him, everything goes so fast for me, and I've met these amazing people, and yeah, I have to thank you all for that.
Do you mind clarifying for people who Dan is and why that is so impactful for you?
Okay, so his name is Dan Kerkhoff, and he's a former vice president of the Magic Kingdom. And he worked, I think, 24 years for Disney, if I tell it correctly. And he started off as a cast member at Epcot for parking the cars. And his journey all along to transfer also to Paris with his father, and starting off building up this company and going back to the US. And his story is amazing, and he has so much experience which he loves to share with everyone. And he has now an own consulting company together with his wife, and it's amazing, his journey, and also that he's now transforming that to, for me, the newer generation, or helping improve other people. It's fantastic.
And he is an authentic leader. And it sounds like each one of those people along your journey they have expertise, and they could have given you that answer, but they knew from their own journey that is not what would set you up. And I think it's a testament to why nowadays you still have that mindset, like, you know what, put me in front of the lions, I'm going to figure it out. It's a challenge. And it's so interesting, the notion of a mentor, because as much as I would agree that those people have had such an impact, you say, I don't know if Dan would look at it that way. I feel the very same about his father, Lee Cockrell. Now, I've been so fortunate to meet Lee several times. We've had a couple coffee conversations. We don't, I went to one of his mastermind events, and we've continued to have conversations since. I don't know that he would see it as a formal mentorship, because Lee's he's open. He does that with everybody. But the reason that I feel that he is somebody I look at as a mentor is because he has said the exact right thing in the exact right moment that nobody else would say to me. And it would be the most recent one was in January, when he flat out said, like, Katie, don't justify, just be. Don't justify who you are and what you've done. Be yourself. And it was like a switch was flipped. I went, duh. Yeah. I mean, so I think the idea, so many people think, oh, I need a mentor. I need this person to meet with me monthly, or it's so scripted, but they're losing the power in that leadership knowledge and listening and what mentorship could be. So I would, first of all, think that Dan would be honored to have you say that. But I also think that mentorship is what you take in and make of it. So I think that's fantastic.
And that's exactly the thing that I started doing 2 years ago, just being on LinkedIn and seeing these people or hearing those podcasts, they didn't know me personally, but they shared experience, and from everything you can learn. So just listen to it, apply it to yourself. And that's what I did. I always call that my workplace is like my sandbox. So everything I hear, I can dare to just try out and see how it works. And just what we said about leadership style, since I was telling now where it all started from, I see why I'm leading a certain way. So
Yeah.
it's funny to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought up LinkedIn, because that is something I wanted to go back to, thinking about connecting, because the three big pillars of One Spark are connect, create, and celebrate. And with connecting, I think I have loved LinkedIn for years. Even when I was a classroom teacher, my parents and students weren't on LinkedIn, but it fed that curiosity in me. So what would you say to students or professionals or entrepreneurs that are not as comfortable with new social platforms, or maybe they aren't sure why they would be on LinkedIn? They're like, I don't know what to post. Sounds like you didn't go into LinkedIn thinking about posting and sharing who you are. So can you speak a bit more to the connecting value of that?
Yeah, I can share like my own experience in how I did it. Is that I mean, everyone started with a LinkedIn profile that has zero connections, zero posts and everything. So first you start off connecting with the people you know, the friends around you and everything, but those were not the people that I was interested in to get to know on LinkedIn, because I knew them already.
Yeah.
And officially the structure of LinkedIn is you connect with the people you know and you follow the people you're interested in. That's not what I did. So I was not following the official thing. What I did, because if you're not having the pro plan of LinkedIn, you're not allowed to send messages when you're not connected to someone. So I was just sending out all this connection or invitations, and LinkedIn has this awesome feature that you can like filter people. Mm-hmm. So what I used to do is because I wanted to connect with people that were in Orlando while I was here in the Netherlands, I just put the filters on like the Walt Disney Company, Walt Disney World, Universal, and all those people showed up. And I would just connect with them until I got to a point where LinkedIn said, well, you got your invitations for this month. You need to stop now. Next month, you can try again.
Good for you.
But when I was connected to interesting people, I would just write them a message in their direct messages and just say, this is me. This is what I want to do. And I see you're doing this. Do you have tips for me? And that's also what I did to Lee at one point, Lee Cockrell, because I heard this podcast that he was sitting every day at 6 or 7 in the morning in this cafe drinking his coffee. And if student would reach out to him, he would reply. And I was thinking by myself, well, let's put that to the test. So I calculated the time that he would be in this cafe to my time would be like 3 in the afternoon or something. And I would send that message. So I would keep in mind when I would send messages to people, what time it would be for them locally. Because either it is in the morning or around 8 in the evening that people are active on LinkedIn, because the rest they're working. Which means for me, it was in the afternoon or really, really late.
Yeah.
But if it was an important person, I would do that. So it is also about putting in the work yourself, I think. But like for 99%, people didn't reply to me. But those people that did reply to me is the reason that I'm now here talking to you. So yeah, don't be ashamed if no is an answer. It's not that point is stopping you. You can just continue and figure out another way.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I have to ask, did you get a response from Lee? Did it work?
He gave me an awesome reply.
Of course he did.
That was
yes.
The thing is, like, if you're starting in this industry, the theme park industry, Lee and Dan have a famous name in the industry. So I would connect with them. So it was really at an early stage that I sent this message to him. And it was about basic information, understanding the industry. So it's not that I wanted to get something out of it, but I knew he had the experience, and he was just sharing with me. I don't know exactly what it was, but he was sharing something about the organization from Disney itself. So
Yeah,
it was, really nice of him to reply.
He does. And I was really like, I'm like, do I ask DShawn or not? But yes, because it's 100% return rate anytime you reach out to Lee. I was trying to find, I've got little postcards. Coffee for the Soul is exactly like where he positions himself, and go grab a coffee. I will never forget the first time I was like you. I'm like, let me test this out. He always talks about my numbers in my book. Call me, I'll call. So I sent him an email. It was couple nights before he was set to present in Indianapolis. And it's funny, another mutual friend, Jody Mayberry, was also going to be there, and they were going to record a live episode of Creating Disney Magic. Well, aside from the event, I had some professional issues with being a younger woman in the field, and wanted to reach out and say, okay, now's the time to test this. I want to ask his leadership advice of how to be a change agent, how to come in and help when that's what I was hired for, but I'm being told I don't know, I don't have experience. So I wrote this email, a lot of words, because I'm a wordy person. And wouldn't you know, I'm sitting at dinner and my phone starts to ring. Now, I also book travel for off to Neverland Travel, and we sometimes have client needs. So I'll get a 407 area code phone call addressing hotel, whatever. So I let it go, thinking, we'll see what this is. I'm eating dinner. Sure enough, it's a voicemail from Lee. Just talking through it, said, hey, make sure we catch up when you're in Indianapolis. Really look forward to meeting you, but just give me a call back. We can talk through this some more. I about fell out of my chair. I'm like, this, what? And like you said, for some people, they don't know who he is. But for people in leadership, people that are interested in theme parks or the Disney company, that is somebody that is highly regarded. And so to see that type of leadership and that caliber of person take the 2 minutes to respond, it makes me wonder why more people don't do that. Why do so many people, refuse their time to people that want to learn and grow? So I'm glad you've experienced that. But the next layer of that connecting is when you did get to this cruise opportunity, and you came for 2 weeks, correct?
Yes.
You had packed full, busy 2 weeks. A lot of conversations. What was something out of all of that that really you didn't expect getting from this connection? Certainly fun, certainly meeting new people, but what did you go back home with thinking, wow, that I never would have realized?
Okay, first I have to start that I needed 1.5 weeks to get everything in and just progress it, because I was for almost 2 weeks there, and there was no day that I didn't have anything planned. Like I traveled so far, so I was getting the most out of it. So every minute that I could spend with other people, I was doing that. And also after the cruise, and Dan helped me with this. I was networking at Disney and Universal. And I have to thank Matthew Miller for that. At Universal, he was showing me around. He blocked almost his whole day to walk with me through the park and just explaining what was happening and how the history was. And at one point we were sitting in a cafe, and he connected with other people. So I was at one moment talking to like the event manager and an executive, and it was amazing I didn't know them. I didn't know, normally if I talk to people, I do investigation on who these people are and just to understand them, because I want to have a mutual conversation to understand what their function is and go deeper into questions. And I didn't know that by them. So that was new for me to it wasn't scripted. And I think that is something that I've really learned. Like normally doing things like this, I think you kind of can see it that I send a message to you before, like, oh, let me know what we're trying to talk about. So just that I can kind of prepare myself before it. And I think that really helped me to, I'm not there yet, but it helped me to start with just go with the flow and let it be neutral and just see how it goes.
Yeah,
So,
be in the moment. And I think you probably had conversations with them that led you a direction that was more powerful than if you had known you'd be meeting with them and you'd want to plan. This is what I'm going to ask. This is what I want to hear them tell me about. So absolutely, there's power of that. And you so easily could have been like, you know what, I just want to go to the parks and ride the roller coasters. And yet you're going into this and getting so much more of a thrill, in my mind, at least.
Yeah, well, I mean, I may have not seen the most out of the parks because doing like Universal, both parks, and Disney, all parks in 4 days is a lot. So I have not seen everything, but this trip for me was all about networking. And I was thinking by myself, I will come back here. So I did like the classic attraction because I was like, in case something changes, I want to have done it. And of course the biggest attractions I did, but I didn't get the opportunity. I don't get the opportunity that quick again to network with people there, although I don't know for the future, but now I got the opportunity and I had to grab it. So
that is so important, that everybody needs to remember that if you tell yourself, I will come back, I will do this again, and you position your mindset to not worry about what that immediate satisfaction would be and realize the opportunity in the moment, you are doing yourself a favor for the long term. We have to slow down in order to speed up. We have to stop and recognize the opportunity in front of us. And so, you'll get to go back. I am determined to make sure I get back down there when you're there, because as much fun as it was to ride the tallest water slide in the United States with you, I am now wanting to make sure to experience theme parks. So when you walked into Magic Kingdom, DShawn, and you saw the castle, what was your first thought?
Oh, I was overwhelmed, but just like everything that had already happened, it was past the middle of my trip. So it was a mixed feeling because I had to let the cruise behind me, which was like those 2 weeks. I learned the best and met the best people I ever had in a short amount of time. And so I didn't want to go, but the moment I entered the park was also like, okay, now the second phase of my trip is starting. New chapter, let's go. So in the middle, you're doing like transportation, and then you're like, oh, I have to go. But Rob and Katie took me on the first day to just like show me around and do I had this thing, I wanted to do the transportation, the Disney transportation, because I didn't have planned that in my schedule, but it is, I mean, I had to do it. So they didn't have tickets for the parks, but we were just going around the resorts, and I don't know what it is called, but it was something with monorail? Pineapple and rum.
Oh, the Dole Whip, yes.
Yes, the Dole Whip. We tried it, and of course I had to do the one with rum, and it was just perfect. We didn't enter the parks, but they could just show me around, and it was amazing. And then together with Amanda, which was also in a hallway on the cruise, it was, I don't know, it was so funny. We three actually connected so well on the cruise, and she has an annual pass, and she took me to my first day, and it was amazing. And yeah,
I know, I was waiting for it because Amanda is so savvy on TikTok, and I don't know. I'll have to find and make sure to share it, because I was so excited when she posted that you were on Splash Mountain, because that's one of my personal favorites. And I was waiting for it. I was like, oh, he's on it. He's on it.
Oh, it was so amazing to be part of her TikToks because what actually was funny in the evening, Jenny also joined for the thing, and we went to see the fireworks. And Jenny took me like front row to the Disney castle, so I was standing really in front of it. But actually, the video from Splash Mountain, when we had to drop, Jenny just entered the park and walked past Splash Mountain, and she saw us the moment we came down. But really, she was just walking towards Splash Mountain. So it came all together, and from that moment on, it was the best to be surrounded with them. Yeah,
I love it. Yes, and you created your own magic. That's what I think we all have to do, is embrace the moment, create your own magic, and just see where it takes us. So when you got back home, like you said, you connected with people on this trip in a way that you probably will not connect with many other people. It's just there's something different about it. How are you able to explain it, or how are you going back home? Because for me, not everyone, I have wonderful family and friends that support me, but they don't all get it. And so having this group that I'm like, wow, they are all doing very different professional things, but they get it. How have you been able to explain it? Are you able to explain what that professional community? No, I know it's so hard. Right?
I'm not.
Get it.
No, the thing is, like, for my parents and my family, it's like being on a trip with strangers. But for me, it's being on a trip with my friends now. And I took the time to explain it to my family at home. But for the rest, it's also a thing that I just, how do you say that? Like, cherish myself. And I don't know, it's something when I think about it, I feel the joy again. And I posted on LinkedIn because I also want to show my professional side, what was happening, and the rest followed me there, so they knew what I did. But I also feel like if I now, for example, in school, if I would say it, we're Dutch people are a bit different in culture than American people, so here would faster be like bragging about what I experienced, while American culture is very, you can just share what you experienced, and everybody helps you cheering on that, which is also here, but a bit less. So I share the most things that happened, but also mainly when people ask about it, it's something that is personal to me. So yeah.
I know for myself, I came back home and I feel like I walk a little bit taller. I feel like there was a group of people that understand me, even though we're doing very different things. And it's just this drive, this passion and desire to lean into curiosity. And so I'm glad to know that I'm not the only one that hasn't figured out how to explain how being together with complete strangers can be the absolute most life-changing moment.
It's also the thing that I, because I didn't have any vacation, really, like, I came back Sunday evening, Sunday morning somewhere. But I have to fly Eastern, and flying Eastern is always a bit worse because then you're going to feel the jet lag. I had to be back in school on Monday. So I think for 4 or 5 days, I felt like that my body was still transferring to this time zone. I was a bit naive in saying that I didn't feel any jet lag. So I experience now that also my body can feel jet lags. But I had to go back into school and at a fast speed, and I had to catch up what happened the week before, because before the trip, I worked 1 week in advance. And when I would come back, I would get 1 week what I missed. I would learn that. And for now, I also feel that everything that happened there was really amazing. So now every time I'm here in school and something hard is happening, I'm like, I know what is out to get there. But I'm also very aware of how important it is for me to obtain my bachelor and my propedetic. So I always have to relevate it a bit, but it certainly is something that I still think about. So yeah.
If anything, I think knowing what's there and knowing what, you've had a taste of it. You've been seated at tables with executives, and you get it now. It can be hard to wait it out, but
Yeah.
it's only going to keep you growing that much more, because the upside to you still completing your education, still, working and understanding your own growth, you're going to be going there with new, fresh ideas that they want and that you will provide. So as much as it'd be easy to be like, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm just going to figure it out there. There's so much value in what you've just said. Like, I do need to keep focused on the end goal.
The only thing is like, I always try to understand the industry, only now I have seen it in a practical way. So now that I come back into school, there are some things that I'm like, okay, why are we teaching this? Because it is not how it really works. So that's the problem that I have now, that sometimes you see things and you're connecting it how it is really in the industry. But then you also have to think you're in school, so they're teaching it and making it harder in some way. Well, in real life, in the work field, we would just figure out a different way to get to the same point. So that's the thing. I have to be aware of my assessment forms and just get all the topics, even if I'm not 100% agreeing on it. And I think that's the biggest struggle that I have now after my cruise. So yeah, it's funny on the other hand, though. Yeah,
Yes, everything you just said, I am saying yes, because that's part of the unlearning within our way of thought, and especially in education, that is so important. Even more so is where those business partnerships, the collaboration between schools and industry is so important, because our education field is something we need to be educated. We need to learn things, but it's also time to look at the way we're teaching things and help prepare our students to become even stronger lifelong learners, even stronger employees. And how do we do that? By shifting our perspective outside of a system and asking the industry experts to come in and support, be my partner in education. Because to your point, after a while, I have been out of the classroom for a number of years. Now I still help schools, but I don't feel like I can truly speak to the teacher experience as well as I once did, because I have been so far removed, and I have to respect that. So still asking the teacher voice is very important. So you bring up such a very, very important topic around that partnership and perspective across industries, building bridges. That's what it's about. So thank you.
Yeah, there's an amazing thing that our school is doing. I think that's a part, my school is calling Breda University of Applied Science. And the applied science is that I don't have basically like school assignments. My school works together with clients. So I'm doing real assignments for an industry. So for example, now we have a project that is working together with Madame Tussauds, and we're really doing a project on guest experience, and we really had to go to this museum to just make a whole map out of it. So it is still a school assignment, and maybe not something that you would do in a real work field, but still we have to present towards this company, and they are our how to say that, they gave us the assignment. So it's really because they're lacking of some information, and we students can maybe help them provide that. So the connection, how they work together, that is really awesome. So it is much better than just a normal school environment, but still it is a school assessment. So there are still some things that I think like, okay, maybe we would do this differently when I would work in the real work field.
But you're getting to see the education in action. It's allowing you as a student to ask the question, why do I have to know this? Well, now you see why. And to be fair to the businesses and Madame Tussauds, they're now getting some great feedback that otherwise they may have had to pay a lot of money to get. So it works out well for everybody to explore that type of partnership. That's really cool, DShawn. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and also it's really good to learn if you're not yet into the networking, it really helps you to, I think that's also what I had at the beginning. It's the scariest part is to learn to reach out to people. And now you're kind of forced to do it because otherwise you're going to fail your assignment. So it's a good way to learn the basics of it.
Yes. How often would you say you reached out, or maybe the school reaches out to different businesses or people that would act as the client and gets turned away? Do you know, or is it?
I don't know exactly, because we have really an own department who is just connecting with the industry.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
even for internships or something, they have connections with, for instance, Disney. They keep those partnerships up. So we could just go to them and ask like, hey, we want to reach out to this company. How can we connect? And if they don't have connections, they will help you get those or just support you in getting those. But what I do know is that every assignment that we have is connected to a company, but I don't know exactly how they do it to connect. And yeah, that's up to them.
That makes sense. And I think it's important to have that person, that has the connections and the relationships. Do you feel as students that you are more committed to the work and to the classroom experience because of that?
And it also motivates you because you know that although we're freshmen, so it is not the best analytical report they will get, but they will look into it and we have to present to it. So perhaps it is something they would even do, because I know that a lot of fourth-year students, they really can make impact on those companies. They really deliver the reports where we have seen changes in the company, but really changes that gave them so much more profit. So that you're working towards that point, but you also have to accept that you're a freshman and don't have that experience yet. It's a process you will get to.
Yeah, that is wonderful insight from the student perspective on how impactful those, again, the connections, and you're creating a learning opportunity and really a value add for those businesses. So I think we both could probably talk forever about this, but I want to make sure to respect your time and just, we'll just have to do this again. That's what we'll say. But before I wrap things up, I want to get two things. One, I would love to hear just your final words of encouragement to either students or professionals that are trying to get that experience. They know what they want. They know they've always loved this. What would you say to them when they feel like, I don't even know where to begin?
That it's okay to reach out to people, but it is also okay to figure things out along the way. So, and that's actually a situation that I'm in at the moment, is I know so clearly what I want to achieve that it is also okay to discover myself along the way and who I really am. And I think stepping out of your comfort zone is the best way and the fastest way to learn. And that is exactly coming back to the point in getting dropped in front of the lions. You're not comfortable there, but eventually you will know how to tame them and learn from it.
Yeah. So when most people are running away from problems and shying away from the scary moment, DShawn's like, I'm going in. That's because you may have been bit enough that you're like, oh, this is what I got to do differently now. So I think that's fantastic. I think that you are amazing for having known that since you were 11 years old, you said that you knew, and you have been committed and focused. I would bear to argue you've always, even as a toddler, even as a young child, I mean, you had your little Playmobil toy. You were already setting up the app.
Yeah. It's fair enough. Fair enough.
and one fun fact that I know, but I want you to share, again, knowing that you wanted to go international, you knew that language was going to be something that you had to explore. And I think that it is always fascinating. I've heard a lot of people share people that live overseas where they picked up their language. Can you please share with everybody how you learned the English language?
Oh boy. Well, we're in the Netherlands always have a thing that we try to learn other languages in a way that's part of our history that we had to. I don't know. We Dutchies were in the golden era. We traveled to other countries and had to make ourselves known. So, for example, it is common for a Dutchman to speak German and English as well. We get that taught in school to a sufficient level. So I was able to speak the basics of it. But then if you want to work in industry, you have to learn the slang as well. And that's exactly what I did on LinkedIn as well, that was part of figuring out the industry, to learn new terms and understand it. And the best way to learn languages is just to do it. So now what I'm doing, I'm trying to learn Spanish as well. And I downloaded an app, it's called Duolingo, and you're just doing it. You're just going on and you will evolve. And now sometimes I see Spanish posts and it's not that I understand it, but you can pick out certain words because you learn to understand the language. And it's not that I have the freedom to do that now, but if I had the freedom, the best way to learn it is just do an internship there and speak for, I don't know how many weeks, be surrounded in that language, and you will pick it up so easily.
Yes, you force yourself to experience it. My son, he was 11 at the time. He's a little bit older now. Decided one road trip that he was going to watch the SpongeBob movie in Spanish. And I'm like, okay, we'll see how long this lasts. But he did. And every once in a while, he'd be like, he was talking about blah, blah, blah. And because after a while, he would see the visual and hear the word and the context would build. So immerse yourself in it, force yourself to be uncomfortable. I was not a textbook learning. I took Latin and I took Spanish. I did not retain much from the textbooks, but when I had experiences, I would. So I think that's a very valid point.
But that's the same what we did as a child to learn our native language. We would see this children's series and you will learn it. So that's the same you can do for other languages. Yeah. Might be childish, but it's the best way to learn it.
It absolutely is. Do you mind if I share what show that you picked up some of the slang and language?
Oh, for English, you mean?
Yes.
Oh, well, I think to learn English that way is that I started doing an English study. So I had to speak English. I had to present in English.
Yes.
But for me, it was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
I love this. I love that, DShawn.
For a lot of people, it is always Friends.
Yeah.
But I had to watch this. I don't know. It's the best.
That's fantastic. I think, you know what, whatever works, right? And it was a great show. It was fun.
Yeah, it is.
So what's one last thing about you we can celebrate before we wrap up that maybe we haven't tapped into, but you're like, you know what? I need to give myself credit for this.
Oh, that's something that is not in my culture, Katie.
I know, we've even talked about this. Like, we're very proud Stoic people at times. So but this American's going to make you so uncomfortable and say, DShawn, be proud of yourself. What is something you could give accolades?
The thing that I could be proud of is that I'm already kind of planning my next trip. So I will keep you updated.
Yes. Stay tuned, folks. We'll have to do a live redo.
Live on location, out of the parks.
You saw the impact and you said, let's do that again. I love it. Very cool.
Yeah, and just learn from it. That's eager to learn.
Moment.
That helps.
Every moment's a learning moment. So thank you so much, DShawn. I appreciate you. I appreciate just all the wisdom that you bring to everyone you encounter. We're having a lot of fun doing so.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, DShawn is probably one of the most cool, calm, and collected 21-year-olds that I am so fortunate to know. So much thanks again to him for coming on, and I really hope that you were able to take away some different ways of thinking about connecting. The way he talked about leveraging LinkedIn as a student and how he goes against the traditional networking mentality and looks at it as a way to lean into a lesson. And my goodness, when he said, be different to be special, that went right into my soul. I think so often we get caught up in what we should be and not just who we are. So I leave you with this challenge today. Let's think like DShawn. What roadblocks are you currently facing? What are the things that are holding you back, are holding your organization back, or keeping you from taking on something in your life that you really feel would bring you joy? I ask that you start to transition from that as a roadblock to a challenge. So take that challenge, embrace the momentary spark that comes with an idea or an opportunity, and lean into it. Drop yourself in front of the lion and win big. Be well, stay curious, and I'll see you real soon.
Did you know that chocolate was once believed to cure stomach aches?
Later, Tater.